LA, how's everyone feeling? So I just came from New York, so I gotta check on this. So if you're having a great time, say you're. Okay. My name is Drew DeLeon. I'm one of the co-founders for a music and tech community called the Digilogue. So if you're an artist, a creative producer, songwriter, DJ, a multi-hyphenate, raise your hand. Okay. If you're a marketing professional, music professional, work in entertainment, music tech adjacent, or just work in entertainment in general, raise your hand. All right, okay. Music lovers? Everyone has to be a music lover. And last thing, just so that we can get acquainted, I want you guys to do a quick exercise, 2 seconds. Say what's up to the person to your left and to your person to your right. Cool, we're acquainted. Cool. All right, we're acquainted. We're gonna get acquainted with our special guest. So, Claudia.
Hey,
Claudia,
Hi,
you're doing some amazing
everyone.
things. Introduce yourself and all the things you're building with FanMade.
Oh my goodness. Hi guys, my name is Claudia. I'm the co-founder of FanMade, a superfan social strategy agency. I'm also the author of the newsletter On the Pulse. We recently just did SNL's 50th anniversary, which was super exciting.
Round of applause for that, yep.
Hey. That was really great timing for this, I have to say. And we also work with artists like Miley Cyrus and Hailey Bieber, if you want to count her as well.
Hey, let's go.
That's me right over here.
I love it. Hello, everyone. My name is Andre Jones. I'm a digital media agent at WME, so thank you so much.
Okay.
Traditionally a talent agency, but we have a digital department that focuses on representing creators, TikTokers, YouTubers firstly, and then I support the broader music roster, so clients like Sierra, Saucy Santana, Victoria Monet, all of it.
What's up, y'all? I'm Alec. I currently work at Ranked Music, which is a digital marketing consultancy. So, anything you need, people in the room, let me know. Ex-TikTok, ex-Meta, and also an artist myself. So I think that gives me advantage to just speaking to that perspective and understanding the creative side as well.
Hello, I'm Austin Dunn. I founder of Army Music, and I run a digital agency, VFFO. I work with Teddy Swims. I work with Money Long, Coco Jones. I really try to master the story, and I like to tell the story online. That's kind of where
So, round of applause for our panelists. So, obviously we have a limited amount of time, so we really wanted to cover 4 topics. One is artist brand building and storytelling. We're going to go into community building, talk about data briefly, and then artist tools and trends for 2025. So we'll get it right into the storytelling. So for the artists in the room, who finds creating content challenging? Okay. So I think for us here, we talked about this, we feel like content is not just about posting every day or just posting for the sake of it. We feel like content needs context. So for the artists in the room and for the panelists, I'll kick it off with Alec. How do you feel like artists could be best storytellers now in 2025?
Yeah, I think speaking specifically to TikTok, 'cause that's where I spent the last 3 years and have some expertise. Something a lot of artists are missing is authenticity. I think that platforms like Instagram have taught us that we always need to be looking our best, polished, well-edited. And that definitely works on Instagram, but it's kind of the opposite on TikTok. I remember one of my favorite artists came in to have a conversation with me, and they expressed that they were super frustrated that they're posting the same content on TikTok as they were on Instagram. On Instagram, they're getting hundreds of thousands of likes, millions of views. TikTok, just not the same. And we kind of had a genuine conversation of just look, that doesn't work. You just got to be you. And no joke, the next day they were at the gym doing cardio, very sweaty, very sweaty. And they were out of breath, literally replying to fan comments and just throwing videos up as they were doing that. And of those 6 videos they threw up that day, 4 went over 1 million views and ended up being their most engaged content all year on platform. So I think that just speaks on how that organic, authentic feel just works a lot better on TikTok than the other stuff.
Yeah, so it differs per platform. And I always like to be intentional with our artist partners and whoever we work with. It's not just about repurposing content for the sake of it and hoping for the best. So you, Claudia, obviously you're very well versed in the fandom space. For artists and fans, there's a mutual relationship. What do fans really care about when it comes to the artists telling their stories, especially now in 2025 with all the noise?
Well, you said earlier that a lot of content needs context, and I think sometimes when building an online relationship, you kind of just hope that the fan base will understand it right away, when truthfully sometimes people need their hands held through your storytelling, and that only really gives you the opportunity to share more about what it is you're doing. And when it comes to really getting to know your audience online, it's important to be as online as they are. If that's a priority for you, you should also prioritize spending your time in the same spaces they are, getting to know them and building those relationships kind of organically. Because then it feels like you're with them and they feel like they're with you, and without it feeling so pushed, I would say.
Yeah, it doesn't want to. You don't want it to feel forced.
No, and also like at this point, we are so far into the digital age of posting as artists that fans have caught on to when things don't feel real or it's just a scheduled post and whatever, and that works fine for a lot of larger artists. But I think when you're really starting out, if you're not in the weeds with them, they won't be in the weeds with you.
All right, that's a great outtake. Andre, for you, you have an incredible roster that you work with, from Sierra to Saucy Santana. Obviously, we're in a space now where it's an oversaturation of content. It's a busy space. How's working with certain clients, breaking through the noise?
Yeah, I think one of the simplest ways and one of my favorite tools is like the live feature on TikTok, on Instagram, like just going live with your audience. I think Nicki Minaj has done so many fun lives where like no one expected her to go live, and has some of the most iconic memes to this date that keep her around and relevant. Saucy often goes live and brings up his fans and interacts with them and engages with them. If everyone knows who Terry Joe is, or Keelan is a big influencer who is a hoot and a half, it's like he goes live with Saucy and they have banter back and forth that gets chopped up, gets clipped all over, and all over TikTok. And while there not be no single to be released, someone is still talking about Saucy Santana because they see that clip of him having fun, and just he's literally in his closet in a robe on, just having a good time. So I think breaking through the noise is as simple as just turning on a feature that is given to you by the platforms.
Yeah, and I think it's also preferential too, because I think for a lot of the artists and marketers and creatives in the room, there's often this like pressure to like post everywhere, right? So I always like to say, be intentional, try to choose, let's say 3, for example, if you're starting as an artist, and really kind of honing in and building your fandom that way. For the artists and creatives in the room, who uses Instagram more? Okay, TikTok. All right, interesting. YouTube? 1? Oh, well, okay. Twitch? Big, oh, interesting. No streamers. All right. But yeah, it's just always interesting to see like what platforms artists and creatives are using. For you, Austin, you've built an incredible platform, R&B music. Obviously, you have your agency as well. It's been great to like really tell stories. Working together for like artists like Elmine, Money Long. Yeah. How are you crafting these stories a little bit differently? Because I feel like the Instagram blog space feels busy at times, and I feel like you really stood out in creating your platform.
Yeah, so the one thing you don't want to do is go to every blog and say, hey, new song, out now. Every platform. Please stop doing that. Like, really, I can't stand it. So we just did a Slow Jams event for Elmine last night, and I could have done a post where I said, hey, Elmine did a Slow Jams event, it went amazing. But instead, I saw Cynthia in the back from Wicked, and what I did was I took that video, which wasn't the best quality video, by the way, was the worst quality video. I used that, and I took a picture of her face, and I said, can you believe he's singing Whitney Houston? Cynthia is behind him, smiling ear to ear. What's better than that? That's one of the best vocalists ever. That story, I think, would make that content do 8 times more than just being like, oh, check out this event. So it's why do we care about these things is the biggest thing. No one cares about your song. Everyone, there's, 10,000 songs a day? No one cares about your song, period. Why should we care? And how to make people care? You make good music. And another way to do it is make good content. And you said intent. I always say make content with intent. Okay, so if you are from New York, why are you shooting content in Miami? Remember when artists used to be from where they were from? Like, what is this? Stop being a socialite. If you are from New York and you sing R&B, name one R&B artist from New York right now. There's none. What? Mary J. And then we had all these great ones. There's Faith Evans. There's not an R&B artist right now that is taking that space. If you're an R&B artist, go in New York, shoot in New York, make everyone know you're from New York.
right, regional, which is interesting because like I feel like a lot of regional music is starting to really resonate when it comes to like hip hop, R&B. Just for the creatives and artists in the room, you know, there's a space now when it comes to like really like say getting your content out to the masses, right? There's this concept what we call seeding, and you know, let's say labels or managers or artists come to you and they're like, hey, we want to seed this video.
Yeah.
And what do you think like the don'ts that you often see when it comes to just trying to like what they call quote unquote viral content?
Well, I can tell you the don'ts of basically seeding. The don't is just because, okay, you basically work with the agency, you get a page list, like, all right, here's 5K, let's say. And they're like, here's the page list, we're gonna run this on these pages. Well, if you post it on the first 2 pages and it got 200 likes, don't post it on the next page. Stop posting content that people don't care about. And so what I see a lot of times, especially with agencies, they get your money and they want to spend it as fast as possible before you can realize it's doing bad. Another thing you don't want to do, like to the seeding idea, is a lot of times you'll run the same headline with ChatGPT, changed it 5 times, right? And then every page, because a lot of these pages live in the same universe, they'll all post it on the same day, and you'll go down your phone, you'll see the same post, and you're like, I don't even care anymore, because I know it's paid.
Yeah, so you feel like when it comes to like the seeding aspect, is like if it's not working on one piece, you might as well not do the other pages.
No.
Yeah.
Most likely. I mean, sometimes it works on some and
Yeah.
some others, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think you just have to not spend all your money just because we decided to spend money.
For sure. And I think it's easy just to like have a list and just kind of check it off and say you did it, as
Yeah.
opposed to be like, hey, let's test it off like a couple like pages and see how it does.
Yeah.
Just as a seeding question, is the seeding only done by the artist, or is it being brought to their fans and their fans are doing the seeding for them? Because that's a totally different approach.
Yeah.
I think if you have an audience base that, whether you're in Discord or Twitch or somewhere where it's like a bit more of a private network of people that you can be in contact with, where you share whatever it is that you have coming up with them first and you kind of champion them to do that seeding for you, I think that's a completely different approach. So I think really sometimes when it's in the hands of the artist and it's like the same thing over and over again, it does look like, oh, this isn't working, I'm tired of seeing it, I actually don't want it on my feed anymore. Whereas it could have like a more of a natural conversation if it's like coming within a community that then tends to expand. And then there's like a hierarchy of information from the super fans onto the new fans.
Yeah.
I can add something. I think building your own fan base is the most important thing nowadays. A lot of people want to come to me before they've done the work that she helps you with. Stop paying for people to post you when you aren't even building a community for people to care about.
Yeah, that's super real. And I want to get into what you've been able to do for some incredible artists. You built a fan page for One Direction. Oh, yeah. For 200, One Direction fans? Oh yeah, okay. All right, 200,000 followers, right? For the artists in the room that want to be able to create a fan page where like they're not necessarily posting content on their feed, but whether it's repurposing what they call user-generated content or just content that's extra that they just want to push to their fans. What have you learned from like creating these fan pages?
My fan pages have just like evolved. I had this One Direction account like 10 years ago, so it was on Twitter specifically. So I think that those are completely, what it was then isn't what it is now. What I see a lot of fan page development becoming is TikTok accounts where fans are creating fan cams for you. They're creating edits of yourself, and sometimes even it's artists themselves making their own fan pages, posting their own fan content, because you want to start conversation and you can also pick what kind of clips you want up. And the thing is, what I've noticed with socials is if something does well on TikTok and then the fans also post it on Twitter and then the people on Twitter are talking about it and then it gets uploaded to Instagram and then the people on Instagram are talking about it, it's again just like a process of information. But fan pages today, when I did it was like updating everything they did every second, and One Direction was different because they, coming off the X Factor, they were doing something literally every single day. There was no days off. It was really fun for like 5 straight years, and then it was over. Nowadays, there's a lot of gaps in information and gaps in releases and gaps in content that if you're, as a fan, not being fed, I will find something else to be interested in. But that's a scary path to go down because then you think, I have to post every single day. It's like, you don't, but you have to be kind of present every single day, if that counts. Obviously, if there's a break in the middle, that's fine, and then your fans, you know, if you're excited, you're back. But I think running a fan page was exciting because every day I would wake up to new information, and I would text my friends, I'd be in the DMs, and now I understand that's a big thing to take on, but I do think it's important to keep them fed in whatever way that looks for you. You're an artist, you can literally make whatever you want. So your fans, if they are fans, will take it as is.
Yeah, that's super important. And obviously, find that cadence for that fan page. For the artists in the room, does anyone have a fan page or is thinking about creating a fan page for their music?
Get on that.
Okay. For the marketers in the room, does anyone manage any fan pages? Okay. For the fan pages, as we're kind of talking about it, because I think this is really part of the storytelling too. I know we're talking about it, but and I definitely want Andre and Alec to chime in too. What type of content are you guys seeing that's a little bit different from like the main feed for the artist? Because I think the artist storytelling is like letting your fans tell the story so that it's really driven by them, as opposed to the artist trying to like be the voice for everything.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more. I think with Drewski, Ben Don, RDC World, a lot of these YouTubers they're actually collaborating with these music artists and getting them out of the music space, out of their comfort zone, right? Like when you see Ice Spice do a sketch, like a comedy sketch, you've never thought you'd see that. When you see Sexy Red, like in a music video, like acting like she's having a baby when she's actually pregnant and actually giving birth soon, like that video becomes, dominant. I think that it's really getting exciting to see, music artists lean into their audience, but also lean into their celebrity friends, right? I don't think that always happened back then, because they know that like you can't just post your song anymore. You have to be in the culture. So what I love seeing is, like Drewski going live with his people. We have a series out right now called Could Have Been Love. You're gonna see a number of music artists coming through there. The Could Have Been Records house was a massive success for him, and he's building this world where music artists don't even have to post. They just have to show up for the day, and they get to leverage his audience and he gets theirs. So I think things like that are exciting.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that too, just on the comedy side, because I think oftentimes we get tunnel vision as artists and creatives. It's like, hey, we only have to focus on music. And there's so many obviously other verticals: sports, fashion, comedy. Comedy for me is really number one, just because everyone loves humor. And I think if you have a friend that's a comedian, tap in with that person, because whether it's sketch comedy, tap in with their audiences, because everyone's definitely looking for like a different side of you outside of your native content. Dope. Alec, what do you think in terms of like, the storytelling part for artists these days? Do you feel like with fan pages, in collaboration with like comedians and other verticals, are there other things that you're thinking that artists can do to really tell their stories?
Yeah, I'm honestly in like a lot of really weird corners of the internet, and so I love like the different types of meme-ish type campaigns
memes. I love
that
the
can
memes.
work. Like there's this song, I don't know if anyone else is in the Big Man Blastoise algorithm, but this guy made a song called Big Man Blastoise, and like now there's just whole pages based around with all the Pokemon stuff going on right now, just like Blastoise. And for some reason, my entire feed is full of that, and now I saved the song. And so I don't really live in that fan page space too much, but particularly for me, like I'm definitely in like the meme corners, and it can certainly work wonders, especially for new artists who they might not recognize the artist, but they recognize the meme, and then it kind of turn that into a bigger career afterwards.
For sure. So some takeaways: content needs context, intention. You talked about building some fan pages so that your fans can tell your stories. You talked about the meme space and like different niches. So just different ways you could really like broadcast your story. And I think it doesn't always necessarily have to happen just within your own social feeds. So just kind of like giving you like a spectrum. Dope. As we kind of talk about the storytelling part, I think the big thing that we always try to solve, and this is probably the hardest thing, is like we have all these followers, right? But how do we build community? And community has become really like a buzzword in music. Community, build your community. But building community isn't easy. So Austin, I'll start with you. I mean, you built your community for R&B music. A round of applause for him for 1 million followers on IG. Man, 2 years. I always like to say, why did you start R&B music first? And then 2, what was that 0 to 1? Like, how did you get to year one and from year one to year two?
All right. So the reason why I started R&B music was because I had a marketing agency, and at the time, this was before there was any R&B pages, even the hashtag R&B. I don't even think that existed. And this was about 2017, and I was running campaigns for like Polo G, Lil TJ, Lil Baby, Gunna, all these people, and I was giving @Rap $100,000 a month, easy. And I was like, what is going on? Like, they're making so much money. I'm not making as much as them. I'm making a percentage of what they're making off these posts. And I realized, I was like, well, no one's doing this in the R&B space. Can't say how I got the page, but I ended up getting the page. And I guess the reason why it grew at first, like how I built the community at first, was first to market. If you know anything about VCs, they'll always talk about first to market. No one was trying to build an R&B page when I started it. So it blasted off with my wife. She helped me do the whole thing, by the way. Shout out to her. And so,
Let's go.
so we basically just fed the unfed. And that's how we got off the ground. And now we're in the pivotal point. That was 5 years ago. Now we're in this point now where, because we kind of showed everyone the way, how to build an audience in R&B, everyone copied, which is a beautiful thing. They copied it. Now there's 8 R&B pages, and that's great because that grows the whole space. I'm not mad. I work with them all the time. I love all of them. And so I give them a lot of money to work with the R&B artists I work with, so we have a great relationship. But I've realized I can't go to the next level doing what I did to get here because everyone's doing that. And so now I'm enthusiastic about doing media verticals, doing interviews, doing things that now are taking me off of Instagram and actually building a world around my brand. And that's kind of my whole answer around that.
Yeah, I love that. Because like you built your community, 1 million followers on IG, and now you're expanding to other things, right, through your agency and building, and creating different formats. So I don't know if anyone's familiar. Is everyone familiar with R&B music? Okay, we got some supporters here. There's your community pulled up. Tell us a little bit more like how you want to expand on that, because it's one thing to tell the story of artists on socials, but how are you like kind of expanding on like, is it long form content, performances, and so forth?
Yeah, definitely. So I want to start a performance thing in LA because there's really nothing in LA that, you have a bunch of stuff in New York. You have Colors, which is New York, LA, and Berlin. And there's nothing really in LA. And this isn't gonna be an R&B music thing because I don't want to limit like a live session to one sound because I'm a fan of many genres, as most people that love music are. And so that is coming, that's in the works. And then also I'm gonna start this interview process, which is gonna be more like long form, but the way we're gonna do it's gonna feel like short form because we're gonna cut it up and it's gonna be for TikTok and whatnot like that. And this is gonna be something for R&B up and comers because when you're Coco Jones and you're before Victoria Monet had anything, but you basically have nothing. You either get on Breakfast Club, Vogue, and GQ. For an R&B artist, there's nothing here. So that's what I'm gonna create because that's the next thing to create.
I love that. Round of applause for that, man. That's exciting.
Thank you.
So I always want to check in with the audience. Who is, and like I said, community is all relative, right? You can have a community of 10, community of 50 and 100. Often people think like, oh, I need to have hundreds of thousands of like followers, and that's not necessarily the case. So who's in the process of trying to build their own communities here? Like who's community builders? All right, let's go. That's super important because it's great to hear stories because everyone sees the final product, but they don't understand like the 0 to 1, like how you got started and why. So appreciate you sharing that. Claudia, for you, I mean, it's one thing to scale and grow community, but like how do you care for a community that you grow online?
Do you want to take it?
Oh no, I was passing you the mic.
Oh, okay, sorry. How do you care for a community you grow online, you show up for them? Like, have you guys ever come across like a Twitter stan account by chance where it has like Ariana noticed 3 times, like Tate McRae follows, and like Olivia Rodrigo mentioned, and like they take that as like accolades of being involved in their communities, and there is no like fan badges that are available to like prove how long you've been a fan of someone. So at the end of the day, all a fan really wants is to be recognized for their hard work, and that's also where a little bit of entitlement comes from some of these audiences where you see like an artist post something and the comments are like not so nice and you wonder why, and it's because these fans feel like they deserve more. And so it's a fine line to walk with how much you give them and how much that they kind of take. But showing up for them and being there with them is important. If you only show up and only reply to negative comments, your fans will soon learn that the only way to get your attention is with negative comments. So it's like, again, it's up to you to really decide how your community is like treated and what they like, and doing a lot of stuff outside of socials as well, like whether it's pop-ups, whether it's listening sessions, whether it's fan meetups, whatever it is. A lot of really great digital content is not happening online. It's happening offline, and it ends up online. And that is a bunch of content made for a day as well. So just making sure that they feel that seen and that notice and that like excited. There's reason why like fan pre-sales exist, and like, if you're a Spotify listener, you get early access to tickets and stuff like that. It's all that little rewarding, and it means the most when it comes from you. And I know that this is like Taylor Swift of it all, but I tell people all the time, like, people want to have a fan base like hers. She has done over 500 Instagram lives over the course of the past like 12 years. Are you willing to do 500 Instagram lives? Like, she sat down with them for that long and like got them to where they are now because they followed her story and they felt seen by her. So I just think when looking at like larger audiences and how their fans feel so important, it's because they feel like they've earned it with them by being there with them the whole time.
I think there's also a accessibility aspect, right, of like seeing Taylor on those lives, right? Like you felt like you were there with her. I had a client open for Coco Jones, Ebony Riley, and she was signing merch all night for after the show. Rylan James I used to work with, who was an artist on tour with, another client, and after the show, he went outside and like interacted with the crowd. Like that's not gonna be for every artist, but you'd be surprised how like often that one person who meets you that one time. I think creators do it really well, like doing these like, pop-ups and like shutting down malls, the Kai Cenat of it all. And his audience is always gonna show up for him there. So I think a lot of the artists, that was an old school playbook with the meet and greets, free meet and greets, charging for it, etc. I think accessibility is huge into like how close can you be to your fan base.
Dope. That's super important. And then I think in terms of building community, I think it's important to just really recognize it takes time. I think building the foundation isn't necessarily an overnight thing, and I think it's easy to get discouraged when you feel like, trying to get to that first 100, let's say, followers feels like painstaking, but once you do, it's a big milestone. So I think it's important for the room to recognize, like, once you put the groundwork, like everyone's done here with the respective artists, with R&B music and respective clients, you're gonna hit an inflection point, and then you're just gonna like run with it. So, Alec, for you, I mean, have you ever seen where like an artist started to build a community and you saw like there was an inflection point where it just kind of just like skyrocketed?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think more important than the skyrocket though is like that 0 to 1,000. And so something I think a lot of digital marketers in like today's day and age are really focused on is like, how can I get as many 15-second views as possible, whether that be on your own content or your music. And don't get me wrong, there's like a lot of merit behind that. But a lot of times also that's all it is just like a 15-second view where maybe someone did like the song, liked the post, but never went to your page, never went and streamed your music after. So I think what's super important to like how you can differentiate yourself is consistent long-form content. Someone I've seen do this really well consistently since I was literally a teenager is like Wiz Khalifa. I don't know if any of y'all have like watched his day-to-day videos, but when I was 16, I used to like sneak out of my house and smoke weed and then watch those. And so basically, like, I was a fan of a lot of those up-and-coming rappers at the time, like Meek Mill, Wale, but what made me like a Wiz Khalifa super fan is every week I could spend 10, 12 minutes seeing what he did for the past week. I see his process of like designing a hoodie. Now I want to go cop the hoodie when it drops. I see when he like pressed the hemp into the vinyl, and I was like, I need that now because 16. And so that's like an example of a big artist who's constantly feeding fans different stuff. And you can also like splice that down into your short form content, which creates a funnel where people are like, oh, this was a cool clip. Like, let me go see the whole video. And then they start locking in every week. And then if I'm a smaller artist, like I make beats, I see people trying to launch their beat making careers, and they'll do something like day 1 of 100 of me getting to 1 million Spotify streams.
You get to follow them each day.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I saw this dude, he already did have like a pop-in YouTube channel where he's making instrumental production, but he started a whole brand new one. But on top of this, started like a brand page of like, what's up? I'm Diego. I'm gonna launch this new page. This is day one. So not only did his beat page end up popping off, but he also got 12,000 subscribers on his personal page as Diego through this. So that's just like a great example of someone who literally had like zero momentum. Let me just take this consistent strategy, keep feeding people, and did it super successfully.
Yeah, I love that day one example because folks are gonna follow you.
Exactly. I mean, hey, even if they catch on, like I'm on day 78 of a dude who's like doing his unemployed journey. And it's great. Doesn't have a job yet, but it's great.
It's very interesting. Well, you want to root for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm there for all his interviews, crushing it.
And then you go back and check. He comes across again, and you're like, what's going on now? Day 88, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly. I will keep you posted.
I love that. Definitely add that to the strategy. And then Andre, I'm gonna wrap it up with you. I mean, you get to work within the spectrum of entertainment and talent, right? Obviously, you work with artists, but in terms of the comedy space, Drewski is like, is the reference point. Like he's everyone that, from a comedy standpoint, wants to be. And also, we got some newcomers like Renee Vodka. Like, what are they doing to build their communities in the comedy space?
Yeah, I think, the consistent live performances is so key, for a stand-up comic, for an artist, like just performing as much as you can everywhere. Renee has a standing show at the Laugh Factory that sells out. It's about 300 seats every time, 400 seats, if we push it a little bit too much. And he shows up every time. He hangs out after. He gives out free weed after the show. Like, people are coming back and back in that consistent format. I think also, truthfully, like the organic friendships that he makes with other comedians, right? So you never know, who's gonna pop into that show. We've had everyone from Bert Kreischer to, Joe Rogan has came once, and I think it's like really impressive to see that like a constant format like that can survive. For Drewski, he goes live every time he posts a new YouTube video. So whether you're there for the original live, you got the clips, you go back to it. Consistency, I think, is like so important right now, specifically with like people trying to like hack the algorithm. Like, that's gonna be harder than just a consistent format that your followers can, catch on to.
Yeah, I love that new piece from Drewski, the conscious rapper piece. I don't know if anyone's seen that.
Fresh.
That was
TSA Drewski is my favorite.
TSA
but yeah.
Drewski. I love that. And I think that says a lot too, I think, when it comes to content as well. Pivoting real quick. I think artists, you could be so many characters and representations of your music. And I think that's what's really cool about Drewski. Like, he takes comedy and it's like, hey, let me put myself in these different references. And I think that's what makes the content so relatable.
I mean, if everyone caught Denial is a River from Doechii, like the concept of that was supposed to be like Family Matters, Jefferson, like a TV show, right? Intro to a TV show, but like sliding in like a Zach Fox, sliding in a Ricky Thompson, like they were in there for literally a split second, but like that community grabbed on, that digital fan base, like, and that she dropped the trailer, she dropped the clips before she dropped the full length, song. Obviously, it was a hot song too, but I think even intentionality in that, what did we say earlier? Content with context.
Content with context.
Yeah,
that's dope. So a couple takeaways. When it comes to community, IRL is really important. I know we talked about that. Showing up for your community is important too. Not just like it's a mutual relationship. You just can't expect them to show up if you don't show up for them. Being able to tap in to different verticals. I think even for you, Alec, you mentioned like kind of like that day one journey, having your fans be invited to that process with that one producer. And then also for you, Austin, I think being able to just understand like what your goals are for what you're creating, like not necessarily just like posting content with intention, like especially with the storytelling content you have for like R&B music. So as we wrap this up, we're gonna be talking about some exciting things. We're gonna talk about artists' tools and trends for 2025. I mean, things that we're really excited about for this year. So I'm gonna start with Andre. I mean, this is, for me, like, I feel like there's so many tools for artists. I feel like artists get inundated with there's just tools. But what's one tool I feel like artists oversee or just kind of just like don't really recognize in their toolbox?
I'm on a mission to bring back lyric videos.
Let's go.
I think
Lyric
lyric
videos.
videos made with AI, lyric videos made with just like the same video and just different lyrics. Like, I think that is such an underutilized form right now. Like, you know, if you think about YouTube being 51% of connected TVs right now, like, you know, you don't want to just press play on Spotify when you can like let music videos roll on YouTube. And if you don't have the budget to put out a full video, do an AI music video with lyrics. Yeah.
Yeah, and then real quick, there's some great platforms. Are you familiar with Music Match? Lyric Fine? All right, well, create your lyric videos there. Also, too, if you have an international fan base, it might be worth translating one of your videos into that language. Just saying. Alec, for you, I mean, what's one trend that you're seeing, or you know, what's something that you're excited about in 2025?
I would have to say like how much easier it's becoming for artists to make content. You were talking about budgets for music videos. Like if we go back in time, you know, back in my day, you used to get lucky if you'd get like 3 to 4 music videos from your favorite artists, maybe an interview or two, and that's about all you're getting. If you fast forward to like 2018, Doja Cat made herself famous with nothing but like a green screen, what looked like a MacBook camera from 2012, and like a great idea. And then you fast forward to today, and it's like people who have almost zero video editing experience can go on YouTube, download CapCut, and within a couple hours make something that looks like borderline professional. So seeing how artists can kind of like take advantage of that moving forward, and just as that barrier keeps decreasing and decreasing, I'm really excited to see what the future holds.
That's dope. No, I love the accessibility, just being able to like really like take advantage of those tools that are in front of you. And Austin, for you, I mean, you're coming across so many artists. Who are some of the artists you feel like are breaking through the noise or are going to really, you know, stand out in 2025 for you?
Well, I kind of want to say one thing about the last question, and then I'll go into that. And so one of the things that's exciting me about 2025 is I finally feel like we're breaking out of the era of Frank Ocean mysteriousness. It's so bad. I've never seen it work. This is the problem. Everyone I talk to, they're like, I just want to do what Frank Ocean does. Frank Ocean was in Odd Future, you idiot. Like, what are you talking about? He was doing the things before social media was a thing. And when he came around, he was already big, and social media got big at the same, like it was after. I don't know how to say it, after. So 2025, I'm seeing artists that are talented actually put the camera up and do something. That's what I'm excited about. And so some of the artists that are doing that are Samara Sen and Sasha Keeble, who are like two of the people that I work with Samara Sen, but I was rocking with her before.
Right.
Their performance videos, put your face in front of the camera. I promise you, I've run 1,000 campaigns. The music video of you looking away to your girl, which is cool, like, but you're a small artist, don't waste your money on a storytelling video. When you're bigger, you can do your storytelling videos now. Put the camera up, dress cool, build a story, make sure the location is telling a story as well, and then go. Run.
Dope, dope. And just for the room again, who are these artists?
Samara Sen and Sasha
Samara
Keeble.
Sen, yeah.
Samara Sen is a hip-hop girl. Sasha Keeble.
Anyone familiar with Samara Sen? Ooh, okay. We got
Y'all
Samara
are
Sen then. That's dope. And then how about you, Claudia? Like, what are you excited about? I mean, what are you seeing on the fan-made side, just with the roster of artists that you're working with?
Well, the thing with FanMade is that we also do a lot of work with creators, because a lot of what we do in the superfan world also involves online communities, and online communities is very heavily on creators right now. And so what I'm really loving is the return of long form content, and like how YouTube is really outperforming in TikTok and Reels. Actually, that's not just me saying that. And I think that's actually because iPad kids who grew up with the YouTube Kids app have a UI that they're familiar with, and when they're old enough to kind of transfer to the older internet, they know of YouTube already. So I do think like looking at where Gen Alpha's kind of hanging out is a little bit of like I know you have to admit you're a little old, but like you need to look in there sometimes. And I really think Kai Cenat, for instance, is a Twitch streamer who is paving the way for Gen Alpha and I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought for 2 seconds. But
We're here, we got you.
You got me. With Gen Alpha, Kai Cenat is a Twitch streamer that people are watching, and I think artists are competing with these content creators for their attention on screen time. And rather than trying to put them against each other, I think you should embrace them more. And I think like collaborating with them is going to be only more popular. People are asking, why are certain creators at certain events and certain award shows? And it's because they're driving engagement. So they're going to be there and they're going to continue to be there. And the more you hesitate on that, the more you will actually find yourself heading backwards. So long form content for sure.
Dope, dope. And don't necessarily operate in a silo. You know, we have a community here that pulled up. You know, find like-minded people where you're not necessarily working alone. Collaborate with them. I think that's super important. You talked about the lyric videos, which is, to me, is just like basic one-on-one, but I think artists often overlook because they want like the big cinematic looks. You can have something more affordable just to get your content and vision across, just to start off. And then, yeah, I mean, you guys talked about just some of the artists that, you know, simplicity of just being able to create content, be in front of it, perform, and not necessarily like use your entire budget for one music video, right? So that's super important. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think one of the biggest takeaways, I think just with social media is really owning your fan data. So I love platforms like Even and Grouped, Vault, even newsletters, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Beehive. Does anyone use Beehive? Newsletters are, I feel like outdated, but you know, it is probably one of the most impactful things. And then also SMS, text messaging. So a lot of great platforms like Laylo, Pinpoint, great tools, CRM tools, what they call them, to really acquire fan data and like talk to them directly without the noise. But without further ado, let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Big shout out to Red Bull Records. Let's get into the tunes.
Appreciate y'all.